Hi, everybody. I'm Randy Plummer from Branson, Missouri, and I'm the author of the SNOWDEER Christmas Stories. And my family and I had one of the first theaters here in Branson called the Plummer Family Country Music Show. Well, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and God bless you, and keep watching the ALG Gospel Network.
And now again from Branson, Missouri, from the Plummer Family Theater, here again is Randy Plummer.
Take me home on the sound of angel wings to my Father who has created all things. Jesus left to go prepare a place for me. Take me home on the sound of angel wings. There's not a day gone by I've not been seen by a heavenly messenger of our King, who lovingly guards me from many things. And one day in course with them I'll sing. Take me home on the sound of angel wings to my Father who has created all things. Jesus left to go prepare a place for me. Take me home on the sound of angel wings. These little trials down here are just small things compared to what all lies ahead for me in that new Jerusalem with Christ our King. We'll live and reign with Him eternally. Take me home on the sound of angel wings to my Father who has created all things. Jesus left to go prepare a place for me. Take me home on the sound of angel wings. Take me home on the sound of angel wings to my Father who has created all things. Jesus left to go prepare a place for me. Take me home on the sound of angel wings. Take me home on the sound of angel wings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Bobby G. Rice. I thought I'd drop by the ALG Gospel Network and wish all the listeners out there a very Merry Christmas and a great 2021. Merry Christmas, everybody.
I'd like to invite you and your family to watch my very first Christmas special called The Gift of Christmas. It airs right here on ALG.ROCKS and also available on Roku. And please be sure to catch James Marvell's A Marvelous Christmas. It will follow my special each night. So gather your friends and family and come celebrate Christmas with us here at the ALG Gospel Network. On behalf of founder Roy Young and all of us, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a bright and blessed 2021.
A child was born to Mary, he was a special one. He came to save his people, Christ the newborn Son. He came to share with us today, he died for us to show the way, so celebrate this.
Hello, I'm Randy Plummer and welcome to my home. I would like to share with you the story of SNOWDEER. SNOWDEER Christmas Story was written by me, Randy Plummer, and the beautiful illustrations were done by Mr. Ben Lockovich. One Christmas Eve, Grandpa Deer was upstairs in his log cabin reading to his granddeer. He opened a book and began reading. Once upon a time, there was a young buck by the name of SNOWDEER. As Grandpa Deer read, a magical snow called sugar snow started blowing and swirling around outside his cabin. Each special flake had its own face and personality. Some were smiling, some were laughing, and even some had mischievous faces. The sugar snow glistened and blew all around throughout the night. The sugar snow started blowing north and away as morning broke. Down below, a young white deer by the name of SNOWDEER stood in the Doe Run forest with his mother, Deer Loris, and his grandmother, Mom Whitetail. SNOWDEER, excited with anticipation, asks, "Mama, how close is it to Christmas? 'Cause I'm having Christmas on the inside." Deer Loris and Mom Whitetail laughed. They told SNOWDEER how they too loved to celebrate Jesus' birthday and how when they were young does, they would decorate their Christmas trees with nuts and berries. And they also told SNOWDEER how they would dance and sing Christmas carols around the tree and feast on the decorations on Christmas Day. SNOWDEER, upon thinking of what he just heard, exclaimed, "Mama, for Christmas this year, I want to pull Santa's sleigh." Just then, SNOWDEER's daddy, Jim Buck, walked up from a busy day of berry picking. Deer Loris greeted him and said, "SNOWDEER has a very special request for Santa." After SNOWDEER told his daddy what his Christmas wish was, Jim Buck said, "SNOWDEER, you should write a letter to Santa and take it over to Plum Puddin." Plum Puddin was a family friend who lived in Possum Holler over by Knob Lick in the Ozark Mountains. His father, Daddy Darrell, and his mother, Rose Marie, gave Plum Puddin his special name because of his love for plum pudding. One Christmas, Plum Puddin made Santa a jar of plum pudding for a Christmas gift. Santa loved it so much that in return, he left Plum Puddin a magical jar studded with diamonds. Inside this jar, a note exclaimed that anytime he or his dog Pinecone wanted to come to the North Pole, all he had to do was hold the magical jar in his right hand and say the magic words, "Ho, ho, ho! Off to the North Pole we go!" And the sugar snow would take them to the North Pole. It was December 23rd, and Plum Puddin filled the magical jar with plum pudding. He was preparing to take it to Santa when suddenly he heard a knock on the door. Plum Puddin opened the door and saw SNOWDEER holding a letter. SNOWDEER told Plum Puddin his Christmas wish and asked him if he would take his wish letter to Santa. Plum Puddin gladly took SNOWDEER's letter. SNOWDEER thanked him and left. Plum Puddin put the jar in his right hand and asked Pinecone if he was ready to go see Santa. Pinecone barked and jumped up and down excitedly. Plum Puddin said, "Okay, Pinecone, ho, 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 off to the North Pole we go." And with a whisk, whoosh, whoosh, there was nobody left in the house, except in the corner sat a little confused purple mouse. Plum Puddin and Pinecone arrived at the North Pole, where they saw a beautiful winter wonderland. There were elves all over the place. They also saw a radio tower with flashing letters that read CMAS. The North Pole was full of colorful chutes that had elves sliding down them. Meanwhile, several other elves were teeter-tottering, and there were also some over there at the snow cone stands. They heard a group of singing cats called the Mew Family North Pole Cat Singers. The Mew family was singing a song called The Good News of Christmas.
Sharing the good news of Christmas. Sing it, kitties. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Sharing the good news of Christmas.
The gang started walking towards the North Pole village and saw their friends Josh Elf, who was a singer at the North Pole, along with his wife Amber Elf, and their girls Lily K. Elf and Ilsa Marie Elf. They also ran into their friend Branson the Balladeer, who was a talented singer and songwriter. Then all of a sudden, up ran Harvey Elf. Harvey was in charge of taking care of Santa's reindeer. Harvey looked at them and he said, "Ha ha ha! Ho ho ho! Santa's gonna love seeing you both." When Plum Puddin and Pinecone arrived at Santa's village, Pinecone rang the doorbell with his nose. Santa and Mrs.Santa opened the door. Plum Puddin wished them a Merry Christmas and handed them the jar of plum pudding and passed Santa the Christmas wish letter from SNOWDEER. Santa read SNOWDEER's letter and laughed. "Ho ho ho! We'll see if he will go." Meanwhile, over in the reindeer barn, Harvey was feeding and watering the reindeer. He saw Santa's trunk of sugar snow and decided to play in it. He covered himself in sugar snow and suddenly started rising off the ground. Harvey started ping-ponging from one end of the reindeer barn to the other, and he sang the song. "Ha ha ha! Ho ho ho! I love playing in the sugar snow. Just a little bit, I'll sprinkle on my toes. Up, 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 and away we go." Then all of a sudden, he realized he couldn't stop flying because he was under the sugar snow's magic. He glanced down below and noticed the water hose was still on, and it was flooding the reindeer stalls. He hollered for help, and Strike the Bell, who is Santa's special bell, started ringing to alert him. Santa, Mrs.Santa, Plum Puddin, and Pinecone rushed over to the barn and found Harvey flying around. He blew out the reindeer barn and he clung on to the roof. And Santa hollered, sugar snow, stop your work and let him go." The sugar snow blew away from Harley and he fell safely into a big pile of snow. Harvey apologized to Santa and explained what had happened. And Mrs.Santa and Santa forgave him. Unfortunately, the reindeer ended up catching colds from all the water in the stalls. Santa wondered what he would do about flying out on Christmas Eve. If he didn't have his reindeer, how could he fly and deliver gifts? Suddenly, he remembered SNOWDEER's letter and his Christmas wish. The following night, which was Christmas Eve, Harvey told Santa that the reindeer were still sick. And Santa says, "Okay, SNOWDEER is gonna get his wish now. Ho, ho, ho! Santa was getting the sleigh ready to go to Snowdeer's cabin, which was located in the Doe Run forest. With all the reindeer sick, he wondered who would fly his sleigh. Just then, Santa heard a bark, and it was Pinecone, Plum Puddin's dog. He was motioning to Santa that he could pull the sleigh. He walked to the front of the sleigh and stood in position. Plum Puddin grinned real big and said, "Santa, I think you have your answer. Pinecone wants to pull your sleigh." Santa laughed and he harnessed up Pinecone. Then Santa asked Plum Puddin and Harvey to ride along with him. Santa went over to the sugar snow trunk and sprinkled sugar snow all over them and the sleigh. Then Santa chanted, sugar snow, off to Snowdeer's cabin go." And in a rush, they flew south to Snowdeer's cabin in the Ozark Mountains. Upon their arrival to Snowdeer's cabin, Santa knocked on the front door, and Snowdeer's daddy, Jim Buck, answered. When he saw it was Santa, he exclaimed, "Snowdeer will be so surprised to see you. He's been waiting for you to come." Then Jim Buck hollered, "Snowdeer, there's someone here to see you." Well, Snowdeer, being half asleep, came to the door with his mama, dear Loris. When he saw Santa, he was overjoyed and he cheered, "Santa, oh Santa, you got my Christmas wish letter." Santa laughed and replied, "Ho, ho, ho, yes I did, and tonight your Christmas wish will come true." And Snowdeer, instead of pulling my sleigh, would you like to drive my sleigh? "Oh yes, Santa," Snowdeer shouted, and then he asked, "Can my family come too?" Then Santa laughed and answered, "Why sure they can, my little dear." So Snowdeer jumped in Santa's sleigh and grabs the reins while Santa sprinkled sugar snow all over Snowdeer, Jim Buck, dear Loris, his sister Rosie, and his brothers Deerle, Antler, and Longnose. Then Santa chanted, sugar snow, off around the world we go." And in a mighty whoosh, they took off. They all spent the night laughing, delivering Christmas gifts, and singing Christmas carols. The sugar snow even put on a special light show for the gang. The magical snow flew up and around and burst out in different colors and patterns in the night sky. Some of the patterns even mimicked the gang. The sugar snow started flying and flew up to all the gang and wished them a Merry Christmas. When they were done delivering presents, Santa declared, "Snowdeer, take us to the North Pole." The sugar snow took the shape of an arrow and pointed upward toward the North Pole and led them to Santa's village. When they arrived, Mrs.Santa had prepared for them a great Christmas feast, along with endless jars of plum pudding for Plum Puddin. After Santa said a prayer of thanks for another successful flight and a blessing on their food, Plum Puddin looked at Santa and said, "Santa, I have a special Christmas wish I would like to ask of you, please." Santa smiled and asked, "What is that, Plum Puddin?" Then Plum Puddin answered, "Santa, would you please have the sugar snow bring Daddy Darrell and Mama Rosemarie here to celebrate with us?" Santa gave a big ho, 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 and asked the sugar snow to go to Knob Lick to get Plum Puddin's parents. Shortly thereafter, Plum Puddin's parents, Daddy Darrell and Mama Rosemarie, appeared at the North Pole. They all ran toward each other, hugged, and spent their happiest Christmas ever together. Santa's reindeer had gotten well, too. Together, everyone celebrated and danced the happy hoof dance. Snowdeer looked at Santa and said, "Santa, if you would bring me one of those magical jars, I will fill it up with nuts and berries and bring it to you every Christmas." Snowdeer had barely finished speaking when he looked down at his hooves and saw a beautiful diamond-studded jar of his own. Snowdeer thanked Santa, and the Christmas festivities continued way into the night. When things were winding down, Santa and Mrs.Santa invited the gang to stay the night at the North Pole. They happily accepted and spent a warm, cozy night at the Claus's cottage, snuggled in front of their fireplace and a beautiful lit Christmas tree. Christmas was the next day, and they celebrated some more. Later that night, when it was time for the gang to go back home, they thanked Santa, Mrs.Santa, Harvey, Branson the Balladeer, and Josh, Amber, Lily Kay, and Ilsa Elf for everything. And Santa then gave a big ho, 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 and then cheered, sugar snow, take our friends back to their homes. And off they wished away. That following year, their friend Todd Blott drove Snowdeer, Plum Puddin, and their friend Purple Mouse around on his wagon, pulled by his horse Glister. They made many new friends, including Snowcap the Skunk, Reynolds the Bear, Reuben and Mary Branson, Grandpa Jack, Nana Sherry, and Dosey-Do, whom they discovered was the sister of Branson the Balladeer, who was their friend at the North Pole. Dosey-Do and Branson the Balladeer had been adopted by Reuben and Mary Branson, and they had lived in an Ozark Mountain settlement called Branson that was named after Reuben and Mary's last name. A snowstorm had separated Dosey-Do from her brother when she was a young doe, but she never gave up searching for him. When she found out from Snowdeer and Plum Puddin that Branson the Balladeer was not only alive, but that he lived at the North Pole, she got so excited. Snowdeer and Plum Puddin knew just what to do then. They got together with Dosey-Do at Plum Puddin's cabin, and after gathering their magical jars, they chanted those magical words, ho, 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 off to the North Pole we go. And the sugar snow whisked through the fireplace hearth and swirled around them, and off they went. After they arrived to the North Pole, Dosey-Do got to see her long-lost brother, Branson the Balladeer, and they had a great reunion. While they were there, Santa took Snowdeer aside and asked him if he would be an ambassador for him and fly around the world sharing peace and goodwill with everyone. Snowdeer excitedly accepted Santa's offer. Then Santa invited Snowdeer and the gang to his underground headquarters. After giving them a tour, Santa led them over to the front of two big wooden doors, and he asks Josh, Amber, Lily Kay, and Ilsa Elf to open the doors. To Snowdeer's surprise, he saw a brand new sleigh built just for him with his initials SD engraved on the side. It was beautiful. Santa congratulated Snowdeer and explained, Snowdeer, I would like for you to fly this sleigh, not only at Christmas time, but during the year. Then Santa motions for them to follow him, and he continues, Snowdeer, I have more for you. Come with me. Santa took Snowdeer and the gang to a building beside Bayberry Bay, which is a bay of ice that smells like bayberry, and that's where Santa and all the North Pole villagers skate. Then Santa points to a building and says, Snowdeer, this building will be your headquarters anytime you are here at the North Pole. And there were two candles standing watch in front of the building. Santa introduced them saying, Snowdeer, this is Taper and Tallow. They will be on call for you anytime you need them. They will give you light as you travel in the dark in your sleigh. The next day, Santa, Snowdeer, Plum Puddin, and Harvey had sleigh practice. Santa gave Snowdeer a magical compass and map which would help guide his travels. Santa also told Snowdeer he could use his family to help him fly. He could even use the reindeer during the year when they weren't delivering presents with Santa at Christmas time. And when Christmas Eve arrived, they were all ready to fly. The sugar snow swirled all around Snowdeer's sleigh, and when Snowdeer cheered, ho, 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 off around the world we go, whoosh, and off they went on to their new adventure. They flew to England, South America, Egypt, and several other countries. They flew to the country of Israel and arrived in a special town called Bethlehem. Plum Puddin told Snowdeer that this is where Jesus the Savior was born, and that Jesus is why we celebrate Christmas. They delivered gifts and spread peace and joy throughout the entire city. After Bethlehem, the gang explored Jerusalem. Plum Puddin told them this is where Jesus was crucified for the sins of all the people of the world, and that on the third day he came back to life, And a little while later, he went to heaven to be with God, his Father. They were all so sorry that Jesus had to go through that, but they were so thankful that he would love people enough to do it. And they were happy he was now in heaven. After they were finished showering the people with presents, peace, and goodwill, they headed back to the North Pole. They were on their way when all of a sudden Plum Puddin points up to the moon and exclaimed, "Look, Snow Deer, I can see you in the moon." They all looked up and saw the image of Snow Deer gleaming in the moon. When the gang arrived back at the North Pole, everyone gathered to greet them. Even the Mew family singers were singing the good news of Christmas. Santa had seen Snow Deer's image in the moon, and he laughed. "Ho, ho, ho, well look at that, Snow Deer. You have your very own snow moon." And they had a great Christmas feast, and once again celebrated Jesus' birth. They all eagerly awaited the next time they would get to fly and spread peace and goodwill throughout the whole world. Back in the cabin, Grandpa Deer closes the book he had been reading and says to his granddeer, "Well, there's a dear Christmas story if I ever heard one." And then he laughs. Then he says, "And there's a special secret to this dear Christmas story." Young Deer, one of Grandpa Deer's grandos, asks him, "What's the secret, Grandpa Deer?" Grandpa Deer replies, "All of you young bucks and does know me as Grandpa Deer, but your mothers and fathers all know me as Snow Deer." Snow Deer's granddeer get wide-eyed and their mouths drop open as they find out Snow Deer is the grandpa. Then Snow Deer continues, "On that very special night, reindeer couldn't make their flight, but my wish Santa did hear, and he chose me, for I'm Snow Deer." Thank you very much for listening to my little story here about Snow Deer. And I'm Randy Plummer, the writer of Snow Deer. And I'd like to thank Ben Lockovich, who did some wonderful illustrations for the story of Snow Deer. God bless you all, and have a Merry Christmas.
We love this time of year, filled with hope and love and cheer, sharing the good news, sharing the good news, sharing the good news of Christmas.
Just hear the sleigh bells jingling, ring ting tingling too. Lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. Hey, you! That's right. This is Toby Sellers here, right here on ALG Gospel Network. It's so great to be here. And what else puts you in the Christmas spirit than a beautiful Christmas tree right here? And we hope you're having a wonderful Christmas season. And also we're here with director Roy Young. So we thank you for tuning in, and we wish you a very Merry Christmas and of course a blessed New Year. So where else would you want to be than ALG Gospel Network? We'll see you hopefully again real soon. Have a blessed time.
Hi, this is Bobby G. Rice. I thought I'd drop by the ALG Gospel Network and wish all the listeners out there a very Merry Christmas and a great 2021. Merry Christmas, everybody.